What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Listen, I'm doing some work right now, but I want to talk to you guys a little bit about this journey that we're all on. I was recently down in Dallas talking about the grasshopper theory, the idea that a grasshopper in an experiment, grasshoppers we know can jump super high, but they put them in a jar. After a while, they would only jump to the height of the jar because they were tired of hitting their head. They would take the lid off the jar. The grasshopper, having been conditioned, would stop jumping out the jar. Even though there was no more lid, there was no more shadow, there was no more surface, there was no more barrier. Light, even more light was coming into the jar, but the grasshopper believed, it had been conditioned, that the limit to which it had been conditioned, not its capacity, was as high as it could go. And the reality is that impacts us all to this day. I mean, I'm working right now, so you just have to hang out with me, but we all know that something along the way, in many instances, has stopped us from excelling, from pushing forward. When we begin to accept things as if they are all that there is. Maybe it's because someone quit on you. I mean, that's going to have an impact, right? You know, someone you love, if they drop off, then you're like, well, can I? Or maybe you were reprimanded. You had a job where they reprimanded, they fired you for a mistake. And as a result of that, you stopped making mistakes. Or maybe growing up, you saw a sibling punished because of a mistake, and that scared the living daylights out of you. And you thought to yourself, I never want to make a mistake because it might hurt. It's crazy. We know that fundamentally speaking, in relationships, that's an easy one, right? In relationships, we get hurt, or we allow hurt, or whatever we want to call it, that after a while we get a little gun shy. It's common, right? Like that's a context. But what about your life? Bigger than a relationship. What about the context of all of who you are? What has happened? What's gotten in the way and slowed you down and told you your capacity is limited? We're about 2 minutes and 30 seconds into this video, and I don't have a quick buzz for you, but what I do have is a few steps that you can take to reignite who you are, to rediscover what's possible for you, and all of it's going to be uncomfortable. Yeah, all of it's going to be uncomfortable because you have now readjusted to a false sense of capacity, and that's where you now find comfort. For some of you, you just stay in the house. You don't go out as much. I can be guilty of that myself, putting it all into work. For some of you, you find food in comfort, and comfort in food, and so now you eat comfort food. I talk about this from time to time, which is kind of a weird concept. For some of us, we just accept whatever job that we have. We give up on the dream to be bigger, better, badder, and change the world the way we thought we could, because quite frankly, we discovered that no one was interested in the way we wanted to change the world. And we were looking outside of ourselves for that wisdom. I'm gonna get real personal. What about with God? Or whatever you call God, or whatever you call the universe? What about that space? When you have something you know or you believe you're supposed to do, it doesn't happen. Or it looks like it's happening and then it goes away. See, this is the heart space that the lid represents. It represents the capacity from the root of who we are. The root meaning like the base, the foundation of who you are. So I'm gonna give you a couple things that you can do, because you've got to reset all of that. Otherwise, you're going to continue to have a mess. And that mess is going to limit your capacity to experience life. And you'll die never ever jumping again. Not because you didn't have the possibility or the capability, but because you didn't have the mentality. Rule number one, the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to change your diet. Now, I know people think, hey man, what's that got to do with anything? I'm going to tell you. Have you ever eaten too much and got what we call the itis? What did you want to do? You wanted to go to sleep, right? The itis means you've eaten so much, your eyes want to close, and you want to take a nap. Well, when you start that process of getting the itis, it takes away time from you being present in the moment and slowly but surely leads you asleep into a numbness. Your sleep isn't even deep, it's short lived, and you wake up like, oh my God, I needed that. What happened in that 1 hour to 4 hour window other than you lost time? You lost a window not to be doing things, but to be present. And when we're not present, then we're a result of whatever's going around us or what's going on in us. And diet happens to be one of those areas where we think just because we eat it, it's coming right out. It doesn't work like that. Particularly when we eat things that are not actual food. That's a whole other conversation, but what you call food is probably not food. I just want to, let's take McDonald's hamburger. That's not food. As an example, we know it's not food. It doesn't rot, it doesn't decompose. That's not food, okay? There are hormonal leftovers. You ever been drinking and you've had spirits and it seems like it takes a few days to kind of find your rhythm again because you didn't hydrate enough and all those things? All of those things limit your capacity to show up. So you've got to change your diet. You've got to start eating more foods that the body recognizes as foods or that your cells recognize as food so that you can begin to awaken. It's going to automatically open you up. When you don't do that, then you are likely going to submit to the hormonal imbalance and feel less than. You're going to have less energy and you're going to feel less than in your mind, which continues to keep you on the same track. The second thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to move your body. You're going to have to get out of your head and back in your body. What does back in your body look like? Well, for someone who's severely overweight, maybe going for a walk. For someone who's not severely overweight, maybe going for a walk. But if you walk regularly, it means you've now got to do something more. You've got to go for a light jog. You've got to hit the gym, not once a week, not 3 times a week, but 4 times a week. That's every other day. Because you got to restart to invigorate. You're going to have to challenge your body to regain control of the tomb that controls you, or the housing unit that controls how you show up, how you move. When you're not there, you are in your head. But to be present in your body centers you and causes you and allows you the opportunity to be present. The third thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to establish some accountability and community. You're going to have to be vulnerable with somebody and let them know where you really are. The reason you need to do that is because you were never designed to live life alone. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not here to rely on everybody else. You're here to contribute, but it's still interdependence. So you need me and I need you. Who's in your circle? I hope of few. Okay, that was a corny joke, but no, seriously. Your circle needs to be small because you need to have the ability to be vulnerable. I used to be really guilty of that. I wasn't vulnerable. What I would do is I'd have like 10 friends. I'd tell one person this, I'd tell one person that, I'd tell one person. So no one ever got to actually know me. What a travesty that period of my life it was. No one got to know me and what I was really experiencing because I was too afraid to open up. The challenge with that is it didn't allow me to get the healing and the support that I needed at a time when I was only rising to the lid. The phrase I used to hear a lot was, Marquise, you got to get out of your own way. And it used to drive me nuts. And I would say if I knew how to get out of my own way, I'd step to the side and do it. But what I didn't realize is that getting out of my own way meant getting out of the limitations, the agreements that I accepted about who I am and what I'm capable of. My friends, those 3 things can help you get out of the jar that you've been placed in and the lid that is no longer there. Join my free group. Let's talk some more. Ciao.